Morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. Last question and document thanks for joining today. My name is Amul, and I'm a business transformation expert, and I'm representing the trends in industry today. And I'm associated with Maryland-based software company Celebrate. And we are specialized in business-to-business digital transformation. Let me introduce Raj here. Raj has been an industry expert and architect of production solution. He's based out of Maryland. Thanks, Raj. Thanks for Thank you. So let me recap last two sessions, what we had, and what we discussed in that particular last two sessions. So we discussed about, like AI-based document processing, how it works, what are the advantage. Then how do AI and ML have a short-term and long-term benefits in document digitalizations. And Raj has also explained about the OCR, how the OCR works, and a few myths of the OCR and how the competitors or the other platforms are pulling on the name of accuracy. And Raj has also explained amazing features of eye capture. So now in this session, Raj is going to explain and he's going to discuss few industry use cases where eye capture can be used. So thank you so much, Raj, and thanks for joining us back. Raj, all yours.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you. I think, yeah, definitely we had a great session last time and the last two sessions actually. And hope, yeah, we'll get, some more. We'll try to cover this time a couple of industry use cases, right? So those things, we'll try to cover it up. So, as you know, Amul, the digitization, right? That has become one of the most popular topic around the world, and because it has an ability to create the efficiency in the operations and effectiveness, and also can provide the new opportunities, right? So take any industries, take the industries like banking, manufacturing, retail, construction, real estate, you name it, yeah, it's how all of them come to and understand the benefit of the digitalization and have keyed into the future by which using this new approach and for ensuring the competitive gain and efficiency, right? So that's how that popular the digitalization became. So let's take couple of use cases. I know in the interest of time we'll take just two, and definitely there is not more. The one that what we are going to pick it up, the accounts payable process, that is one of the major if you talk about the digitalizations, this particular project comes as one of the major use case. The reason is because when you have this particular project, it does have the faster turn, the return on investment amount, which, yeah, it can produce the very fast return on investment, and also have very high visibility also come for the throughout the organization. You can immediately see the once you this automation kind of comes into the picture, accounts payable automation, you can definitely see the visibility also. So
Okay.
the reason why this particular process is has that much of visibility, and then the quicker faster turnaround, right? Because one of the main things is you get the vendor invoices or supplier invoices, means you have from different set of people, from the vendors and suppliers. And the invoices, it can be invoice, purchase orders, and then sometimes it can be a non POs or anything like that. So you get a lot of structured unstructured documents and everything. So processing this one, it definitely requires if you are trying to go with the hard copies of the document, it does requires a lot of manual effort, a lot of manual effort, key in the data and make sure those things. And because of all these inefficiencies, that is actually going to cut the invoice processing costing is got more. And also because of the lot of processing and all those things, there is a percentage of late payments also gets increased more, Amul.
Oh,
And the other one is you have a chance of missing the, because some of the vendors they give as a early payment discounts. There is a chance of missing that early payment discounts because there is no end-to-end transparency of that particular where that particular invoice is, and like what is the data and all those things. And
Mhm.
definitely, like there is a chance of like where we will be processing the duplicate invoices in this case, right? So because of all these changes, like to overcome that, we need the account payable automation. Like we need this account payable automation. One of the key things, like means the like the benefits of this using this one is the lead time, right? Like the lead time. What exactly is the lead time, Amul? Is basically the invoice that is actually coming in to the system. Like when the vendor sends an invoice, that's when the lead time starts.
Okay.
And until like it gets into the payment ready status, right? Like until it gets to the payment ready status, that's all
Mhm.
that is called like the lead time. So normally from the average, like from the studies and everything, the lead time, if you are actually trying to do that through a manual process, will take
Mhm.
around 11 days, 11.4 days, like to be specific, on average, like that's from the studies. It's not me or anything like that. That's what's telling it. It takes around 11.4 days,
My God.
which is long. Like because of that, like definitely there is a lot of costing and like inefficiencies and all those things which are actually missing it. But when we
Mhm.
actually convert that one to the accounts payable automation, like you can reduce it to 3.4 days. This is an
Wow.
average also. And
Wow.
then like the reason is because one of the key things here is like because you're talking about the eye capture and the like OCR and all those things, right? So
Mhm.
one of the key things here is one of the major factor for this one is OCR. Like it means it can reduce at least 90% of the manual entry. Like even if you're doing a decent job, you can reduce 90% of the manual entry if you have that particular manual entry to be done. And like even if there are some uh, errors that need to be corrected, or some of these things, the OCR did not able to do that, we should be able to go and correct that. Like because you have the side by side comparisons, you can easily correct it. And you can even
Mhm.
shoot that whole thing, like and integrate that one to an accounting system where the whole payment processing and everything can be done. See, if there is a, like there is always a chance of like where you can try to get end to end process without even touching also, to at least if all goes fine, like it takes minutes, like to have that lead time. We talk about days, like sometimes if no exceptions, nothing can happen. It takes a minutes
Mhm.
also. That is one of the biggest advantage, like what we can see that. And other advantages, like we can definitely saw that even a costing of the, like the cost wise, because the head count reductions, like that can be reduced. And better on time payment processing also, like that can be reduced. And we can definitely improve the vendor relationships and all those things, like those things can be reduced. So there are like a lot more advantages and everything here, right? So that's where, like because it's a kind of combinations of the OCR, means here, like one of the key things, like I capture in our case is the core concept, like for the accounts payable automation, like you have to get all these efficiencies and everything, because you are actually extracting the data into key value pairs, and where that particular data can be directly put into the transactional system where you get that particular efficiency, right? So that's one biggest advantage of using this as a, like use case for account payable automation
Mhm.
process, Amal.
Okay.
So any questions, Amal, like before I jump on to one more, my favorite use case here.
Yes, Raj. So, any question? Just present scenario, right? It's gonna we can save a lot of time and also increase the productivity. And most of the industry, they are definitely looking for such kind of the option or the solution where they can save time. And if you see the COVID, currently again, it's going to be a
Mhm.
different situation. Not sure about this, but yes, it's going to help a lot. If any other organization is looking for such kind of the solution, it's going to be help. I'm sure, for sure. So yeah, it's a really great, the use case what you have given. I'm definitely looking forward for another use case. As you said, okay, it's your favorite. So just wanted to know which one we are talking next.
I think there is a question, like, probably do you want to answer it now, or like, means, yeah, or like, means, let's discuss, and then, like, we can get on to the question.
Okay, so okay, let me check because oh yeah,
Yeah,
so
let's.
uh, I think we can cover in the last after this use case.
Okay, so let's. I think, Karthik, I think, we'll get back to you, like, with your question. The other important one, like, which I want to talk to Amal, is HR,
Mm,
HR onboarding, and also recruitment. Like, that's one of my favorite, right? Like, it's the reason is because, yeah, we have implemented it for the projects, and in fact, like, that, Amal, we
mhm,
are even using it in our silo tech also, like the whole process, like, with all the HR onboarding and recruiting. See,
right,
one of the key things here, right? Like, as from the HR process, like, they have to handle from the recruitment to
absolutely.
hiring, firing, and then, like, goal settings, and then, like, means a lot of things, like, they have to work on the lot of things, right? So here, if you start from the requisition, right, like, means when you're before you start, you have to have like a
Mhm.
requisition. So when
Requisitions.
you have the requisition, like, for a to hire a position or something like that, you have a JD, and then, like, then you get profiles, right? Like, on average, like, that, because we do a lot of postings and all those things. On average, we get at least 25, and some of them, like, from the industry, they say, like, it's even 45 or something like that. But, like, even for us, we get to 25 on average for one position, like, which we get it. And to process that, like, the recruiting team and HR team, like, they requires at least 2 to 3 days, like, to get that, what kind of skill set they have it, what kind of an experience they have it. From there, what kind of, do they have something, like, what we are actually looking for, right?
Mhm.
So we have all those things, but, like, because of all these efficiencies, like, the inefficiencies, like, it takes a long time to process it, and, like, for the time to market to reach out to the right candidates and all those things. The other important thing is, like, means during our onboarding process, right? Like,
Mhm.
we get a lot of documents, like, we get ID cards, and then, like, we get um, mm, passports, and then, like, certificates, and, like, and also we get some contracts also, like, means
Right.
between employee and employer, like, we get contracts and all that stuff. So
Right.
now, when you get this one, now, HR department will go, and, like, they actually key in the manual entries, like, all this data and everything, right? Like, so they
Yeah.
enter the manual entry and all this data. So one of the key things here is, it is, like, by, like, the one that what I'm actually talking about is, it has a combinations of OCR and natural language processing, and also, like, robotic process automation for all the business process automations and all those things. So we used a combinations of all these technologies, and then, like, we made this particular processes very efficient. How? Right? Like, if you take it as how is, you take a resume, right? Like, it means when the resume comes up, it goes through our OCR and NLP process. And when it comes to that NLP process, we actually extract that kind of metadata. Like, we extract the metadata, like, uh, the name, email
Mm,
address, location, and, like, the experience and the skill set. The more importantly, the skill set, right? Like, we extract all that data from the resume and have that particular one as a metadata. Advantages, okay, may not be not for this requisition, but tomorrow you have the built-in database. Tomorrow, like, if
absolutely.
something comes up later, that, like, where to search for it and how to search for it, and you have it, right? So that is one advantage. The other advantage is, like, means all the documents, like, whatever we are actually getting. So now the guys, our guys, like,
Mhm.
they'll enter manually and all those things. If they send a ID cards, like a driving license, like our passport or something like that, you can pass through our OCR engine, like our eye capture, right? And extract the data. And the other one is, like, you have a contract, or, like, you have a document that has some metadata, like, okay, what's the contract expiration date, and also, like, you have the rates, like, it's $100 per hour, or like probably $50 per hour, and also like you have payment terms, right? Like in which you have at payment terms and all those things. When you pass through again, to our eye capture and the like NLP model, we can extract all that data.
Mhm.
Okay, once you have that extract that data, like yeah, the reasons is you can have a lot of insights there, right? Like because you are saying that like in this particular contract is actually going to expire like in between the contractor and employer expiring in a 1 year. You can always keep a alerts to that. Every 1 month before, HR will be automatically notified via an email or like through whatever the means they want to have it. They will have like the alerts and all those things. And the
Okay.
rates, like means when you have that rates and all those things, that like payment terms comes up. You, because you have the payment terms in there, you can associate it to your payment process automatically, right? So all that advantage like in which you have it. See, earlier like this onboarding process takes two resources like for 2 days like to go through our documents, entering and all that things. But now when you actually going through our particular process like this particular automation, it's actually much more efficient here. So these are like one of the which like at least like yeah, at least the interest of time, like these two are one of my key favorites, like which I would like to discuss it. And that like yeah, there are a lot more things like if you take from medical claims, you can digitize the medical claims, right? And then like you have your real estate forms, like yeah, where you want to have all the documents, like you go and sign up like
Mhm.
for sit 1 hour and like sign up each and everything in there, like so you can digitize all that like from the real estate. And from the banking you can reconcile it, like the statements and all those things. And if there are any discrepancies in there, so there are a lot more use cases. As I said, like the
We-
digitalization became one of the most uh, interesting, and like that's the trending things, like that can get a time to market and all that stuff.
Wow, that's really great actually. And there, I understand there are a lot of use cases in the different industry, and it's going to be help a lot. So Raj, there are a couple of questions what we have. So what we have got, let's there is one question from Kar.
Sure.
Could be the moment I capture for invoice processing.
What could be the possible time frame to implement iCapture for vendor invoice processing? Right, like good
Yeah.
question, Karthik. Very good question. See, the way that like whatever we have designed our iCapture, it's already been exposed as an API. Right, like that's actually been exposed as an API. So for us, like to integrate like with this particular invoice processing model, like means the way that whatever we have it, it's almost like within a probably like even if there are a little bit of customizations and all those things, we can have it to be done within a month also. Within a month, like means with even with a decent amount of customizations. So that one will be relating like getting that invoices like from a different sources, like from FTP or like from emails and all those things, capturing it and getting that particular invoices into AP automation to our vendor processing, and looking at side by side correction, and also like getting into the ERPs. All those things, we can definitely have it to be done like within a month, within a month. I'm talking about like the complex scenario also. And if it is a straightforward, like it's because we are giving that flexibility also to the user, like if they want to do mapping between the iCapture versus like the vendor invoicing, we are actually giving that particular flexibility also, the mapping screen and everything. Hope that explains like your question, Karthik, your first question on that one.
So there is another question. So what is the average monthly scaling volume and languages supported by iCapture?
Sure. I think let me answer step by step here,
Yeah.
right? Like one is average monthly scanning volume. The way that whatever we have implemented, it's completely highly scalable eye capture model, like especially like it's a cloud based and API enabled. And what it does is like means you can process the volume, like you can process the the documents. You can process the documents without waiting for any queue or anything like that. So we can even take it 100,000 invoices also. We can take it 100,000, because the way that we have implemented is means it can spun like the APIs, whatever we can have it as the demand is coming in, we can spun off that particular APIs dynamically. So it can scale horizontally, it can scale horizontally, and then take that particular request, and then and give that results and all those things. So for sure, there is, means at least that from architecture perspective, there is no limit or anything like that, but at least yeah, we can take 100,000 invoices per month also with ease, no issue. So because of the scaling and everything, whatever we have implemented. And languages, we have, it's all about how the OCR is actually handling. Means yeah, we have at least looked at around 39 languages, that we can support it. Means that's what OCR does, supports 39 languages. Means at least yeah, there are a lot more languages which we have it, which we have not looked at it, but at least from our testing perspective, there are 39 languages that in which we can support it.
That's really good. Okay, yeah. Fine, Raj. I think that's a
Karthik,
question.
all good. I hope means the questions were answered.
Yeah, I think yes.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Yeah, you have not got it anything here. So fine, Raj. I think it's a really great session, and yeah, and you have shared a lot of information from the starting. It's really great. So I think we can have a few more sessions very soon. I would say to everyone, and yeah, I'm sure upcoming session details very soon here. And visit our LinkedIn page for more updates, and you can find out this recorded LinkedIn and the YouTube page. See you soon, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you once again. Thanks, Raj.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If anybody want to reach out, for a demo or even more information, yeah, please reach out from LinkedIn. So or you can reach out to us. Please feel free to ask. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Amal. Thanks for having me. Yep. Talk to you later. Bye.